Welcome back, everybody. Today's episode is different. It isn't just about track and field. This is about leadership, responsibility, and what it truly takes to lead at a high level. Because being a head coach isn't just about workouts or winning meets, it's about setting a standard, making decisions that impact young lives every single day, and carrying a level of responsibility that most people will never fully understand. Today, we're sitting down with a coach who lives that every single day, a former athlete at Long Beach Poly and the Division I level, who now leads both boys and girls track and field programs and serves as the girls athletic director, a multiple CIF state, California state championship coach who has built success while navigating pressure, expectations, and challenges that don't always get talked about. But more than that, a leader who continues to pour into athletes and shape lives beyond the track. So today, this conversation goes beyond results. We're talking about the why, the responsibility, and that it really just takes to lead and sustain a high level. This is Beyond the Blocks. I'm Coach Lonnie D, joined by Coach Will Humphreys and Anthony Lewis. And today we welcome the amazing Coach Crystal Irving of Long Beach Poly High School.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you,
No
Coach.
problem. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, no problem, Coach. Thank you so much. And
Yes.
before we get started, I just want to let you know that the programs that I started back in the day, I always wanted to just model it over you guys' program. I just wanted to say that. But let's get into it. Before the championships and the recognition, like, what's your why? What continues to drive you to lead and coach at this level?
My why is, number one, I'm a Long Beach girl, and I really believe in giving back to my community. I've now been at Long Beach Poly for 29 years, teaching, coaching. I've been the co-athletic director for about 25 years or so. And I know about 20 years ago, I had an opportunity to go back to UNLV, where I went to school. And I was offered the head coaching position, and I turned it down to stay at Long Beach Poly because I feel like before kids go off into the real world, some have supportive families, some don't. And I feel right before kids become adults is where they need the most support, just to navigate what it is to be a young adult. Some continue track and field or continue sports, and some don't. But either way, they need support. And so giving back to my community, Long Beach and Poly, where I grew up, drives me every day.
That's great.
That's great. That's great.
So Long Beach Poly, as you mentioned, you're not just coaching a team. You're the co-athletic director, and you're the head coach for boys and girls track. You're leading a legacy. So what does that responsibility require from you on a daily basis?
Well, I've also been a full-time teacher this entire time. We have our boys athletic director as well, but he's like teacher on special assignments. So he's able to kind of do the AD work all day, where for me, I'm still teaching full-time in physical education. I also, after Papa Don retired in 2014 and 2015, the school chose me as the head coach. So I'm the first female, African-American female to be head of a men's program at Long Beach Poly, and also to win multiple CIF and state championships. Right now, currently, I believe I'm tied for having 2 state titles under my own coaching leadership so far, even though I was a part of the multiple state championships that with Papa Don over the years. Plus, he was my high school coach, as well as my godfather that drove me to be as well as I was when I ran for him back in the day. So daily, there's a lot of responsibilities with that because Poly has 29 sports. So there's always a team going to the playoffs. Even last year when I got off the bus coming from the state meet on a Sunday, coming from Clovis, as you know, by Tuesday, I was back on a bus as an athletic director going 4 hours away for a state playoff game for softball. So it is very demanding. and it's something that's demanding year round. I'm very thankful to have a daughter that understands that her mom is busy, but at the same time, when I need to take a break because my child comes first, I take a break for her.
That's great. I wanted to ask you because like you said, you're teaching athletic directors. Like it's a lot on your plate. Who do you talk to, or who do you go to, or who is your mentor to kind of either take some off your plate or just kind of allow you to woo-saw? Because I mean, it's a lot. Mom, coach, athletic. I mean, and teaching. Like it's only 24 hours in a day, so it's a lot.
Lot, so my mind is best early in the morning. So normally I'm waking up around 5:30. My coaches know when my mind is freshest, I'm going to be sending texts and instructions early in the morning at 6:00, because by the time I get home at 6, I'm tired. Mm-hmm. I just try to write out a plan of what needs to be done, what needs to be accomplished, and in the pockets of the day that I'm allowed to do those things, work my way through. I have some great people on my staff over the years who were once students and that are now coaches. So they understand the high level of the expectation of what I have to do, because they've seen me be busy when they were students and they were maybe team managers for me. And now they are helping me take some of that load off of my plate. My number one mentor, though, is my mother. She would work 7 days a week. A matter of fact, yesterday was her birthday, and she is my prime example of what a strong Black woman is. When someone gives you, I wrote in a post yesterday, when someone gives you onions, they still expect you to make lemonade. You make sure it gets done. Yeah. So no matter what, I'm still going to work. I'm still going to push, and I have an amazing staff that has supported me at Long Beach Poly to take the load off of my plate, because as you know, track and field is about 15 events. I can't coach each and every event, but I have an amazing staff that helps me to get it done. They know the expectations. They also work with the kids that have zero talent, because we're not always going to get the kids that we want. We're at a public school, and our school district is in charge of the enrollment. So we take whomever we can get, and we just try to make the best out of them. The expectation is always high, no matter who they are, but just pouring that confidence into the young people and making sure they understand that they're important, they are seen, and that we want to get the best out of them, so that when they do make it in life, they do go on after high school, they'll be ready for the challenges that lie ahead.
With Long Beach Poly being, a public school, and we kind of live in the era, and we have seen it a lot, where, we have transfers, you have expanded resources. Yes. How's your program able to stay consistent and elite over all this time with having to deal with that?
Whether you get the talented kids or not, well, number one, the formula is the formula. You don't change it, the athletes just change. So case in point, just going back in the last few years that we had a phenomenal freshman, Ben Harris, as you know, who's at Servite. He ran 10.3 as a freshman. After he left and transferred out 10th grade year, our boys didn't even think they could run that fast. First meet out, they ran 40.7. They were like, okay, we did that without Ben. I'm like, you guys are just as talented. Well, fast forward to this year, Juju, he was one of my top sprinters boys last year who had a foot injury, had surgery. He's not running track this year. I have Dante Wright. He's running, but he's not running on relays. He's just performing sometimes because he has a knee issue from football. He's not running, and he was my anchor on my 4x1 last year. The young people that I do have running, it's the same formula. They step up in practice. We push them in the weight room starting last summer. It's not something you can get ready for in March. You have to start preparing them way ahead of time. They were able to run 40.6 so far this year. We're looking to continue to improve, but we know that you have to work on their confidence. You have to work on their mental capacity first, and the physical will come. And I always tell my kids, I don't care if you run fast right now. I need it at the big show, not right now. We're not going to run fast all season. You can't sustain that. But you can just trust the process, work together, feed into each other. Something great can happen. Now, are there years where we haven't run fast? Absolutely. But I could go back to years where we had a young man named Clayland Clay. Maybe he had ran 10.5 all year. He was the anchor on my 4x1. And this particular year for boys, we only had a 4x1 at state. Well, when Clayland got the baton on anchor leg in the 4x1, we were like in fourth place because of some bad handoffs. I don't know what got into that young man, but what we have been preaching all year, he ran down boys that were running 10-1 and 10-2, and we ended up winning state in the 4x1. Yeah. So the mentality that we pour into our athletes, it doesn't matter if they're the top recruit. It doesn't matter if they're the top person. Ariana Augustine, the year we won state for the girls, she placed third and fourth all year, but at state she put it together and she won the 1 and the 2. So it's the mentality of you can do it, believe in yourself. No other lane matters but your own. No other school matters but your own. And I wish kids couldn't even see the heat sheets. Like back in the day, we didn't know who we were running against. So we just ran and just did your best, you know. There were so many times athletes be like, "Are you nervous?" I'm like, "No." Well, don't you know who you just beat? I'm like, "No, I'm just running." Like my coach prepared me, so I'm ready to go. So that same mentality I had as an athlete, I have as a coach. It doesn't matter about anybody else but my team.
I like that. That's dope.
Thank you.
Lock in on your lane.
Right.
Yep, lock in on your lane.
So what's been the most challenging part of sustaining success though in track and field, as far as the high school level, especially in the southern section where there is so much competition now? It seems like, if you look at it, the perspective of the private schools have, accumulated a lot more depth over the last few years, but Long Beach Poly is still there. Poly still has a lane. Like you just look at Arcadia the other day, Poly is still in the conversation. But what's been the most challenging part about that?
I think the most challenging part for me as a track coach is 7-on-7 football. You have young men that play in the fall and then they come to track and they're like, "Well, Ms. Irving, I have a 7-on-7 tournament this week." And I'm like, I said, "I need you to understand something. When it's football season, I don't ask you to run any track meets. I respect your sport. I respect your time. And I feel that your body can only do so much. Recovery is huge." So if someone's more so leaning towards just 7-on-7, I said, it's okay, just stay in football. But if I can get someone who really wants to run track, really wants to get faster, then I ask them to give us that opportunity for them to build into the program fully. I can't control what a private school is doing. I can't control the fact that maybe they can recruit and I cannot because it's against CIF rules. I just have to take who I have and who's in front of me and make the best out of it. But also that comes with creating events for athletes. Like I've had athletes that were on frost off, average speed. And so we're like, but smart kids, and we turn them into hurdlers. Last year, I had a young lady, Cadence, made it all the way to state in the hurdles, first year hurdling. Armand, Lennox Newton. We have some amazing talent that were runs just frost off sprinters, but that they're not the top sprinter, but they're smart enough and mechanically driven enough to become a hurdler. Or you turn kids into jumpers, or kids who once thought they were sprinters. You really need to run that 8. Because you really have experience. We have a young man years ago, Miles Andrews, who was so sold on being a sprinter. And one track meet, he missed the 400 and he didn't run like he was supposed to. So Coach Don at the time, he was like, "Okay, you're going to run this 3,200. Well, he ended up beating all of our distance boys. And so 2 weeks later, we were going to Texas relays and we needed a first leg of the 4x8. And I said, "Well, Don, remember Miles has some endurance. So let's just put him in the fire. Let's see what happens." So Miles ended up running first leg on the 4x8 at Texas relays. ran 158. By that young man's senior year, he along with my godson, Aaron, two other Chris's on the team, they set the national record 20 years ago in the 4x8. And before he left Poly, he was running, I want to say 150, 151, something like that. And even since that time, we just had Zyrix.
Right.
Zyrix, quarter miler, 200, but at the same time, he could run the 8, he could run the 100. And that time he ran that 800 at Azusa. That was like his second 800 of the year. And probably really second 800 of really his career. And he ran 149. But he's competitive, and our kids are competitive, and they run with their heart. And as long as they feel prepared, they're going to go out there and give you 110%. So again, we just go with the kids that are in front of us, but you have to key in on where their talent really is. Yeah, they may have done something through age group this whole time, but you have to find out if they can do something else, and you want to lengthen their resume so they are attractive to colleges. Number one goal is to get them off to school. Right. Number one goal is for them to keep their academics on point so that when a college does come, they can go off and get that full scholarship.
I like that.
Now, we know y'all do a great job of that too, getting the kids out, getting, y'all, as far as like the high schools that I follow, y'all probably do the best job of any of them getting kids out in every sport, on the college.
Thank you. That is something I know. Usually we have about 45 kids signed through all sports every year to go to college. I just had, we had 3 girls total from our school last year that went to Harvard, and 2 of them were from track and field, one in high jump and one who was a sprinter. The one who was a sprinter used to be a soccer player. And by junior year, she's like, I'm just going to run track. And actually she started in the 4, but by junior year, she was running 11.6. We like, okay, maybe you found your niche. The other young lady who was a high jumper, she was a volleyball player, never did high jump before. But again, I have the most amazing staff under me. And Coach Bass was able to work with her. And by freshman year, she won CIF. By senior year, she won state and jumped 5'10".
Yeah, I was going to reference him. So I'm sorry. I was going to make sure to shout out Coach Bass because that's a good friend of mine.
Coach Derek Bass is like everything, and he works with all levels of talent, but he's able to pull the best out of the athletes. So, no experience needed.
So you touched on a moment ago football. So at Paul's, like many track programs around the country, here in California and elsewhere, they struggle to build an alignment with football. So can you speak a little bit more on like what that relationship is like at Poly?
Yes. Well, I've been fortunate enough to have coaches over the years that I've been there that believe in their athletes running track. So it's helped where some schools, the football coaches totally like, well, if you run track, you're off my team. Luckily, I've had the type of support and the type of coaches that at Long Beach Poly, they believe in their athletes running track, their linemen throwing the shot put, or going into wrestling or doing other things. Yes, 7-on-7 is still a factor. That's now not going to go away. But at the same time, if a kid is good and a kid has talent, our coaches do believe in pushing them towards the track and field program. And my top sprint coach, Doc Moyer, he used to be a DB coach. So he's always pushed for his athletes when he was coaching football to run track. Coach Keith Anderson, who's my quarter miler coach, he stepped away from football coaching for more than 10 years or more, but he's back assisting as a co-head coach with Trayvon Patterson. Trayvon Patterson is now our head football coach at Long Beach Poly. Trayvon Patterson ran 10-3, 10-4 in high school. He was on my 4x1, 4x4, won the top receivers in the game, played professional football. And he's now going to be our head coach. He absolutely believes in kids getting the work, but also I see a difference in our football program where kids are not just pushed off to other coaches. They're really working hand in hand for the kids that are not as talented to bring them up to the same level. So I think Long Beach Poly is going to shake them up in football next year. So I'll just shout out to Coach Patterson because he's working well with those out.
And this is putting you on the spot a little bit, but I know the resume is impressive. So, but I don't know if you know all the names off the top of your head. But can you mention for our audience, some of the track athletes that went on to have a professional football career, some Poly alumni?
Let's see. Professional football career or track career?
Football specifically. Then we can talk track as well.
There's been quite a few from back in my time. Willie McGinnis, 8-Ball. Let's see, Mark. So many people. I don't know. It's 29 years of legacy.
Yeah.
I
know fairly recently, like not too recent, but Deshaun Jackson was a big one that people remember.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We've had quite a few that have come out recent, but I came out in 1988. So we had the most, I think, come out closer to that time, all the way up until now.
Yeah.
Even in basketball, we've had some amazing guys that have gone into the NBA. I even have people out of my own family that have gone into the NFL and NBA as well on the McDonald's side of my family. So, so many athletes have done really well. I know that Long Beach Poly has the most NFL players out of any other high school that have gone into the NFL. So I'm sure if someone Googles it, all the numbers.
I put you on the spot.
And it's active too. Active.
Yes.
Yep.
It is active. And in track and field, we've had Ariana Washington, who was an Olympian. We've had Shalonda Solomon, who was on the national level. We've had Brian Woodward, who was also an 800 runner back in the day, who was also a medalist. Quite a few people who have done well in track and field over the years as well, besides myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So administrative support and program goals is always important. How has the community as well as the school been, supportive of your vision?
Our community at Long Beach Poly, I feel like we're the high school that's just like SC. We're in the middle of the hood, yeah. But at the same time, there is a community and an older community that supports just athletics, period, at Long Beach Poly. And some people that follow who have never had a kid on the team, but they still support and they still follow what we do at Long Beach Poly, from football, basketball, softball. Like our girls softball team just won CIF for the first time in the history of the school. We've had other sports do well, and just overall athletics. But the community has been very, very supportive. Our co-athletic director, Mr. Rob Schock, he has been my brother through everything and very supportive of me because he, like myself, we both got started coaching frost off and JV track and field back in the day when we first started as teachers. I've been there 29 years. He's been there 30. And so he knows what it takes and he knows how important it is to make sure that our coaches are supported, but also to make sure that everyone is on the same page and making sure that we can continue the legacy that has come before us.
You mentioned the location of the school, right? It's in the hood, and you deal with kids every day. How have you been able to be so successful with the outside noise of social media, gangs, and stuff like that? Like how have you been able to help kids maneuver through that?
Well, I grew up in Long Beach, down the street from Poly, so I didn't grow up in the suburbs, so I understand my community. That's why I feel it's important for me to work there, because I want the kids to see someone that looks like them, that talks like them, but at the same time know when to turn it on, when to turn it off. and that I understand where they're coming from, and that I want them to feel supported, but know that there's a bigger picture, bigger than Long Beach. And that, yeah, I feel that gangs were more prevalent when I was younger, where if I was just walking down the street, they're like, oh no, don't mess with this one because she run track. Like, athletics is respected in our neighborhood, and it's something that our community supports, regardless of where the location is. And really, we have the largest school and largest school population out of any school in Long Beach. And so, and we're still sometimes turning people away because they can't get in, where the population is going down at the other schools. And if they can't get into Poly, then they prefer to go to a private school. Poly just has a legacy, not just in athletics, but academics. We've had other athletes like Aaron Shampton. He was a football player. He also was a track athlete. He was in our CIC program, and he was the first African-American young man that went to Harvard on a full scholarship. And that was about 12 years ago. He also is in the NFL. He was a running back coming out of Harvard, but doing some amazing things in his own right. So having those type of examples, despite the odds that we have, I think it means a lot when you can see someone putting it in action. Yeah, regardless of our location, kids are still producing. Their GPAs are still 4.5, 4.3, 4.7, not just barely making it. And a lot of them are able to go on to some of these Ivy League schools or other schools, but they have to have the grades, not just athletics. So I think that speaks for itself, because we have the most kids passing like the AP exams and AP classes. We have different pathways at our school where kids can take honors classes and AP classes, whether they're in our magnet program or not. So academics is pushed, and we're a melting pot of multiculturals, from Asians, Latinos. We have a Samoan population, our Black population, Japanese, Chinese, whites. We have everything at Long Beach Poly. So it's not just a Black school in the hood, it's a melting pot. And as you know, we have a few celebrities that came out of there as well.
Right. I think I saw a post or something a few years ago. What's the address? 1600 Atlantic?
1600 Atlantic.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can have a shirt that says 1600 Atlantic.
I did see that one. Yeah, 1600 Atlantic Ave. Yeah.
Who are you talking about?
Right.
Yes.
I like that.
Thank you.
When you face moments of pressure or doubt, like what standards and principles have you relied on to stay consistent as a leader? Because I know there's always been challenges that you've probably had to overcome. So what are those principles and standards you've had to rely on?
I stop and pray. I pray over my team almost every week. I send them encouraging words. See, like this era of kids that we have now, they're into messages, not just speaking. So I will send them something that's tangible, something that they can see to speak into their spirit. I know that for me, I am a religious person. I do have a relationship with God. I don't force my athletes to, but I know the other day we were in Texas and we were in the lobby. And before we went off to the track meet, we had taken a couple of pictures, and I just brought all my kids together and prayed with them. And a gentleman I didn't even know, he said, you know what? I just want to commend you, because you don't see that at a lot of schools. Just coaches praying over their team and making sure that they're mentally supported and spiritually supported. I said, that's just something how I grew up. That's how I was supported. And that's how I support my kids. But again, I don't force anyone to be a part of that. If they want to be a part of it, they can. But I just want to speak positivity into my kids and to our program. There's times where my back is against the wall. There's times where there's some very hard moments, especially because as a female coach, especially in the world of track and field, I feel most of the track coaches, they don't look like me. I feel I'm an odd person in the middle of more, lack of a better term, a man's world. But I don't back down from competition because I feel competition makes you better. I feel that if I keep the focus in the right place, that what's supposed to happen is going to happen. Even when there's pressure and it seems like things are not going to go right, I feel that it's just something to make you better and make you stronger. I don't think it's something you should back down from. Case in point, this past Saturday at Arcadia, young man, Quincy Wilson, was there. Great young man. He's an Olympian. But I feel like my young person who ran the 400 along with the other young men from other schools in the 400, I feel like they psyched themselves out before they even got on the line based on what he's done, not based on what he was going to do that day. Mm-hmm. Case in point, my young man got out hard the first curve, but then he fell asleep on the backstretch and then the second curve. And before the race even started, just being a mother, just having that intuition, I looked at Quincy and I'm just like, I don't think he's going to run super fast today. And my kids said, why do you think? I said, well, one, he's kind of holding his back. It doesn't seem like he's at full strength. He's definitely not going to run 43 today. Well, he ended up running 45. Mm-hmm. But all those young men he ran against, they also have run 45 or 46. And none of them ran that. They were running 47s, 48. Like they haven't run those times since freshman year. Mm-hmm. So again, even though it's pressure, you can't psych yourself out. You can't worry about what somebody did last week. You can't even worry about what somebody did last year. And I tell my kids, I said, last year was great, but you have a bullseye on your back. And every week you have to rise to the occasion and you have to go out there and you have to compete. You can't be worried about what somebody did last week. Because honestly, if Quincy is running 45, his best is 43, right? Mm-hmm. He didn't run his best. Mm-hmm. Well, the other young men who could run 45, 46, they ran in 47, 48. So they didn't run their best. But I feel once that we got to the 4x4, we're like, you guys need to lay it on the line. I feel it was a better race for all schools. Mm-hmm. I'm grateful my boys were able to run close to their best this year. Because that's like the second time we've run the 4x4 this year, and we've run 3:11 a couple weeks ago, and now we've run 3:12. And one of my top boys was not on the relay, so I'm happy to see that.
What was that conversation like after the 400 with your athletes? Like, because you noticed it ahead of time of seeing it. I'm curious what that conversation was like.
I personally didn't have a conversation with Noah, but our other coaches did. But the main thing, we let him think about it and figure it out. And he didn't run his best. But I know when he was running that 4x4, once he came off that first curve, I just hollered out his name and I'm like, you got to run the back stretch. Like you can't change your race strategy just because someone else is in the race and think you're going to hold on and then run at the end. That's not going to work. You always have to stick to your strategy, how you practice, and it's going to come out much better for you in the end. Just laying it on the line. Like you can't change your race strategy just because who's in the race. It just doesn't, it won't work in your favor. And our kids, sometimes I'm grateful that these type of lessons come right now and not at the state meet. So there's time to fix those things so that in the end, they can do much better. I mean, case in point, Arcadia last year, we fell. Noah got knocked down, trampled, almost got up and still ran 46 after falling. But they were like, oh, Long Beach Poly went down, they're not ready. And by the next week, they ran 309. So we never can get caught up in what somebody did last week. You got to go on what somebody's doing today. And no matter what, you got to put your best effort out there every time.
Now, to my recollection, unless I'm wrong, did the boys 4x4 win state last year? your
Yes,
boys?
we did. We ran
Okay,
308.
exactly. Yeah. So
Yes,
I
sir.
remember like watching that, and I didn't have any like whatever the phrase is, horses in the show or whatever. I didn't have I wasn't rooting for anybody in particular. I just was looking to see a great show. But man, I did not coming in. I did not have y'all winning. Not in my mind, but like that was a hell of a relay for everybody. But your boy Noah, he anchored that, correct?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he ran a heck of a
I
relay.
also had another young man on there, Jarius Hill.
Mm.
We had Gus Armstrong, and Darion as well.
Mm.
And Gus Armstrong, the year before, he had transferred to Poly. I think his best 400 at the time was maybe 49. And he would open up every week with the 47.
Mm-hmm.
Darius Hill, the year before, came in, transferred from Carson. Darius was running 51-52.
Mm.
He's just a young man that needed the training, needed the confidence, needed someone to pour into him, build into him. I knew what we could do, even if everybody else did not. And I knew each leg, just like Darion. Darion is he's shorter than me. I'm 5'9". Darion is maybe 5'8", maybe 5'7.5", but he runs like he's 6 feet tall.
A big heart.
Down the competition. Jarius was running, he ran 46.9 at state. And this is a young man who ran 51-52 the year before. Darion did his big one, and so did Noah. So they run with their heart and they run for each other. It's a brotherhood. And it's important when you have relays that you have young ladies and young men who know that they can count on each other. A relay is not one person. Everybody has to do their part. And right now, even where we are with our girls, I told them, all of them, I said, we can run 10 seconds faster. I said, right now, we can't rely on one person, but if everyone runs what they're capable of doing, we're going to drop 10 seconds because we're capable of doing that. Everybody run it like a 300 and hold on and you'll be all right.
So let's speak on that a little bit. You talked about the coaches, and clearly you got great coaches. Y'all doing great things with the athletes. But let's talk about having like a good number of talented athletes, like working together, competing, against one another, practice every day. Can you talk about the importance of that, having good training partners?
Yes, and that's another thing where we teach our kids, you should not be nervous at all. You have the best competition in practice. Mm-hmm. So why would you get nervous when you go to a meet? If you can compete and go against these athletes in practice, and when the coach is giving you a 90-second recovery or a 2-minute recovery, and everybody gets up, everybody's hurting, and everyone gets on the line, you need to be on the line too. Mm-hmm. If you can handle practice, a meet should be easy, because when you get into a meet, you're going to get 45 minutes to almost 2 hours between events. So the fact that you're getting less time in practice and you have the competition to push you, it should make you better. So it helps to have the talent. And when you don't, then you make people rabbits and you have people chase, and you just create those situations to make sure that everyone's being pushed. Even some of our girls run with the boys. When there's not enough competition for them. I know when I was in high school, I ran with the boys because there wasn't enough competition for myself. Mm-hmm. I lost a lot of boyfriends that way because I was beat. It's cool. But I got to where I needed to be, and I was able to run the times I needed to run. Mm-hmm. So that's never gone away. We're no hard feelings. We're going to put times with times, regardless of gender, and make sure that everyone's pushed to get the best result.
So I'm going to take it back to a moment and put the focus back on you. As a female coach, what are some of the challenges that you face on the daily that people don't see or would not necessarily understand?
Being a full-time teacher, mm-hmm. Also an athletic director, also being a head coach, there's a lot of responsibility on my plate. It is overflowing every day. Mm-hmm. Year round. And then also fundraising, because we're a public school. Mm-hmm. We know that coaches in universities are not always coming to Long Beach to see our kids, so we have to fundraise. So I've been blessed to create a dynamic where we have our own timing system, where we can host preseason track meets, where we can have an invitational that's growing, where our first invitational, we might have had 2 schools there. Where now we're getting closer, to 20 something schools coming to our invitational. No, we're nothing like Arcadia. We're nothing like Redondo, but we're going to take what we can get to make sure that our kids have an environment where they can flourish and where they can shine. But there's a lot of challenges just to keep kids motivated at the time. There's a lot of challenges because there's not always the support from the parents that you wish there could be, where for maybe 3 years, a kid has been traveling with me out of town, going to these big track meets, whether it's Arkansas, Texas, or back when we used to go to Penn, and I've never met a parent. They drop off and keep pushing. Some parents don't come watch their kids. So you become that second mom, or my coaches become those second dads to those athletes just to make sure they're supported. And there's numerous ones that I still stay in contact with who are now in their 30s and their 40s who have their own families. But also, too, part of my coaching staff are former athletes because they know the challenges that our program faces all the time. So they understand why they need to come back, how they need to get back to their program, get back to their community from which gave to them. So it's a lot, but I don't back down to a challenge. And if given a choice between being an athletic director and a coach, I'm always going to choose coaching because that's where my connection is to my community. And that's where my love is for the kids.
You're definitely doing an amazing job at all of those.
So for those athletes who you say, you haven't seen a parent in 3 years, and I'm pretty sure some of those athletes you have seen have potential to, make it to the next level. How have your influence or approach been to those athletes of okay, we got to make sure we do this and this to make sure that you're visible and seen to even get into school? Because I'm pretty sure with parents not showing up, they don't know anything about, getting into college.
That happens. And so starting off, I do a parent meeting in the beginning of the year in October. And I talk about academics, and I also talk about don't assume your child is taking the right courses to get into college. As a parent or as a student athlete, I need you to go to the College Career Center. I need you to make sure you're meeting A through G requirements, because back when I first started teaching, there were kids that would have 3.5 GPAs, get to senior year and realize they're not even ready for a university because they didn't take the right classes. Or they pass classes 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, but 9th grade, they might have a couple of Fs. So I talk to them like 9th grade counts. If you have any Fs as a 9th grader, you can't get that scholarship, or you can't go on to a university right out of high school. So it's important that they understand that the academics come first. So I have a village of parents who have had former athletes that went to Poly that work with us, that volunteer at our track meet. So if that child doesn't have a parent that's showing up for them, I have another 20 to 30 parents that's going to cheer for them, that's going to make sure they eat, that's going to make sure they donate water, snacks, nutrition, whatever they need. No kid is going to get left behind. No kid, if financially they don't have it, it don't matter. You're going to go on the trip. You're going to get meal money like everybody else. You're going to get a new uniform like everybody else. You're not going to miss a beat. And you're going to go out here and perform because you're running for your life. And I know if I could put you in the right situation, then something's great is going to happen. I have a young man on my team right now. He was on Frost Off with me, quarter miler, 200 runner, but he kept pulling hamstrings. So last year as a junior, we asked him to start throwing. His name is Jeff D. And I've never met his parents before this year. But last year he was like, Miss Irving, I don't want to throw. I said, Jeff, you have a talent, but I need the coach to work with you. But sprinting is not happening. It's not working there. And if I'm going to get you off to college, we got to find something else you can do. I know your parents are just about academics. I understand that. I said, but if we can work with you, we can find a way to get you to college another way where they don't have to pay for anything. So he comes from an African family. And last year he threw about 45 feet in the shot put. And I believe his best disc was 150. And at that time, that was number 4 in poly history. Well, last summer, our coach worked with him, got him some better implements. And by the time we hit the beginning of the season, he threw 175 in the disc, broke a 60-year-old record at poly. He's now, I just need him to stay in that ring, but he's fouling like 59 feet in the shot. I'm like, if you just keep your feet in, that's going to be something amazing. But already Cal State Long Beach, UCLA, other Division I schools are looking at him for a scholarship.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And again, I just met his mom, I think a couple weeks ago. And that young man, he's just like, Miss Irving, thank you. He's like, I know I didn't even want to do it. I said, I want you to not be so hard on yourself. You really only been throwing for a year. I said, and there's nothing but up from here. Academics, I already know you're there because that's what your family has pushed you in only prior to this. But our job is to find your talent, and we're going to push you in shot put. We're going to push you in discus so you could be the top person in California, help us win the championship, hopefully, but also go off to school after this is over and compete and be, contribute to someone else's program.
I love that you pay attention to your athletes on, athlete can be stuck on, I'm just a 100 runner, and you really paying attention and like, no, I think this is where you'll be good at a good fit. And it seems to be working. So I like that because some coaches are like, person is 100, whether or not they're successful or not, they'll be 100 all 4 years and nothing happens. So I like when you do that though. That's dope. That's dope.
Absolutely. And a little story behind that, as we were just talking before the podcast started, prior to poly, I ran the 1, ran the 2, and I long jump. And because I was doing well, but I got injured doing the long jump. So I ended up running the 400 and it ended up being successful for me. So when I got to college, my coach was like, oh, we want you to try the 800. I'm like, nah, y'all probably going to leave me in that event. I don't know, but I'll run a 4x8. And so I ran a 4x8 and ran like negative splits and ran like 213. And my coach was like, you just ran negative splits. I'm like, okay, but I don't want to run the 800. So please don't leave me in that event. I said, the 4, I'm good. But I said, I'm just an athlete. I just like to contribute to my team. But finding the talent in kids, sometimes it's not always what they think. Because even Trayvon Patterson, when he first came to poly, he was a 1,500 meter runner in age group track. And they first were starting him with running the 8. And before it was over, he was a sprinter. And he was on, different national teams and school records and just leading the nation along with a lot of other young men, Isaiah Green, Bryshawn Nellums, Joey Hughes, like all those guys during that time, just doing some amazing things.
That's great.
So you mentioned earlier, like that you keep in contact with former athletes and, they keep in contact with you, but like with the content culture of social media, the surroundings in the community and negative influences that some of the athletes or many athletes have today, like what do you hope that your athletes carry with them long after their time with you and your program is over? Like, how do you feel like you need to stay connected with them?
Well, number one, we want to teach them to never back down to anything that they're challenged with in life. But also I've had athletes come back to just events at Poly and I'm just like, yeah, I think I'm gonna retire at least from teaching in about 5 years. They like, but you can't retire from coaching. I'm like, at some point, someone else can do the job. They said, Miss Irving, nobody could do the job like you. I said, Somebody will. I said, but I don't have a problem still being here and mentoring and letting the younger generation be here, but also at the same time show them how it's done, but at the same time letting them find their way. As long as kids are supported, as long as we're trying to bring the best talent out of people who are not superstars, I said, that's what's important to me. Making sure that everyone feels seen. I said, that's always been important to me. And a lot of kids understand that. They say, yeah, Coach Irving, because back in the day, like, even when I wasn't the head coach and I was assisting Papa Don, it's just those conversations you can have when someone's feeling not sure of themselves, or making sure they warm up, or when they do finish, just making sure they feel encouraged to know that this is not the last time. Maybe this didn't go perfect, but guess what? You get another chance. You survive to run next week. Don't worry. It's going to happen. But you just got to train harder. You just got to push more and make sure that you're doing everything possible that your coach tells you to do. You can't back down from, hurting sometimes. It's not going to be easy, but you can't back down from that hurt. Mm-hmm. But I know that we have a lot of different athletes that are in different fields of work. And anytime they can come back and contribute, or just come back and give a speech or talk about their experience at Poly and what they're going through now, that helps to build up the community that's coming behind them and giving back to their community that they came from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my bad. One of the things I can say personally, I appreciate you talking about, like, showing the up and comers, or the kids who aren't superstars, a little love, and saying how everyone needs to be, feel recognized, feel seen. Because I'm really big on that too, and that's something I've been talking about for years. Just trying to, like, again, recognize all the kids and let them know, like, hey, we see you. You're important, and just giving them their props.
Absolutely, because you just never know if that young person is dealing with, just their self-esteem is low or whatever the case. And yeah, I'm talking here today on this podcast, but there was a time I was very, very shy, and I didn't have much to say. Mm-hmm. I grew up with a speech impediment where I would stutter and get tongue-tied, and it was very hard for me to speak to people as fluid as I'm speaking now. And Papa Don was a big part of making sure that, no, baby, I need you to talk. You're going to get up and talk. I'm like, I don't want to talk to the reporter. He's like, no, you can talk to him. I'm like, I don't even know what to say. He was like, you'll be fine. Mm-hmm. But just putting me in that position to express myself just a little bit more. And so when I find a kid that's shy, or I find a kid that doesn't want to say much, that just wants to be in the back, I just push them to the front a little bit more and say, you know what, I was just like you, and know that you're going to be okay. Mm-hmm. And just putting them in different situations where they have to lead and they have to stand out, and just encouraging them in this, just let them know, like, it's not about being perfect, but it's about just giving your best. And it's okay if you're a late bloomer like me. Mm-hmm. All good.
I love how you keep making references to Papa Don. And I listened to you on another podcast where you were mentioning another coach that I believe she coaches at Milliken or so.
Coach Dietrich, yes. Dietrich King.
Yes. And you have so many other coaches that are on your coaching tree.
He's at Loyola.
See, exactly. And I talk to him regularly. But also right now on your staff and previous coaches, can you elaborate a little bit just how awesome it is to have quality coaches around you, good people around you that support your athletes and have been major contributions to the success that you guys have had? Because I know you will and can, because I just want to hear from you, because I know there are so many head coaches that feel it's all about me. And right. I already know from you, it's the we. So I just want to hear you elaborate on it.
Yeah. Also, too, we've had amazing coaches on our staff, such as Stefan Patterson. We also have had back in the day, Coach Clarence Roan, who was part of our Death Row, which is our 800 group, where Coach Keith was his assistant. We've also Coach Holmes of Homewood of Holmes Tech. He's a hurdle coach. He's like my mentor coach for all of my hurdle coaches, including Deetra, including Coach Mike Nelson, who's my hurdle coach right now. We also have Coach Daniel Singh, who is my throw coach, along with his wife. So it's an amazing group of talented people that have come together to make sure that our kids are supported. Coach Chucky, who just passed away last year, was everything to me. For long jump, for triple jump, able to coach high jump too if he needed to. But we also always have had Coach Bass, who was just part of the legacy that we built and part of the championships that we've had over the years. But a head coach is only as good as their supporting staff. And I know that the supporting staff that I have had over the years since 2015 has been the best that I can ask for. And just knowing that if I don't have the time to do something or I can't get to something, I have people that says, no problem, we got it. They're going to take care of it. Having just team managers step up and do the work that's not seen by everything from the hip numbers to whatever the case. They're there to do those things. Cameron Ford, he's also one of my former coaches who's now at Loyola as well, but he comes and runs my timing system along with Coach Mike, and they're self-taught when it comes to that. But just being able to be self-sufficient means a lot. But just very thankful for people who have come across my path and who have come across our program and who consistently give back. Not because of what they're getting paid, because honey, we ain't making no money at the public schools, but we're here because we love the kids and we love the program.
Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate that.
Yes.
I'm gonna pause for a second. So I had a question that we had, but you literally essentially just answered that question unknowingly with that answer, because that answer was everything. So Anthony, we'll pause for a second, and then you go ahead and ask your question. Okay.
Okay.
And and since that's the last one, I got actually two. All right. So, what advice do you have for a young person who wants to be a high school coach? What are one or two gems you would give them? Our advice?
I would say it's important in today's day and age to take coaching classes to make sure that you're not just going off what you think is right or what someone told you. You need to know why. You need to know about the energy systems, the training cycles. You need to know about how to even write a workout. So definitely our coaching staff, not because we have to be, we're level 1 and level 2 certified in USA Track and Field. That's something that's not required. That's something that we want to make sure that we're staying up to date. We're also in communication with different college coaches to make sure that what we're doing is right. And if there's something else we can learn, we're always hungry for more knowledge. So we're always sharing workouts. And even from our frost off and JV, they do the same workouts as the varsity. The only difference is their recovery may be a little bit different, or the intensity or the percentages that they're running a little bit different because their bodies are younger and some of them have never run track before. But it's important that out of those young people that you are coaching, because eventually some of them are going to make up your varsity team. Because I know a lot of the young people that we have on varsity right now, they were runs on frost off. And because they already are used to the workouts and used to the expectations, has not been a hard transition. So for someone who's new, coming into the game of coaching, I think that they need to, visit with different programs to kind of see what they're doing, but also take some coaching education, not just once, but continue to educate yourself on what the latest things are, what the training philosophies are. Because I know back in the day, we would do strength and we wouldn't touch speed until after league. Where now we start with general prep that has that strength and a little just general conditioning. And the first thing we lead with is speed for 8 weeks before we do anything else. So it's a whole different way of training, but you have to know why you're doing it, how long it takes to establish it, and why it's important. Just don't give a workout just to give a workout. You should know why. So for anyone that's young and coming up, don't just go off what you see on the internet. You need to really study and understand. Case in point, you may not have the top elite sprinters, but if you have the same formula or the best formula, it doesn't matter who you put out there, you should be able to get some results. And I think that's what we've been able to do at Long Beach Poly.
Absolutely, no doubt.
Ooh, I wish you had said that louder. Oh my goodness. For real.
That's what we do at 1600 Atlantic Ave.
1600. Yeah. 1600. Right.
For real.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
man. All right. So, a question I got for you, and I mean, you could decide whether or not this gets posted or not, but I'm curious. Right now, Southern section, right? Southern section. It is, I have to say, one of the probably the best section in all of United States. Like, I mean, compared to what's going on in Texas, Florida, North Carolina, all the other states. But I also believe the way the Southern section ran is not fair. When we come look at San Diego section, the LA section, and even Central and North section, by the time we get to state, I would love to hear what you think that we can change or do differently to kind of make the state meet for the Southern section, you know, maybe whether it's faster times or just better so we're not burnt out because of what we have to go through.
Don't need a master's meet, number one. You don't need that. Because we're just, honestly, if you qualify out of CIF and make it to master's, most of the time, it seems like 80% of those kids are making it to state anyway. It's just another week of running. Last year, they tried something new where it was not top 9, but top 18 or something like that. And then it was still top 6 or the at-large time. But if you were in that second heat, you had another opportunity to make that at-large time. I feel like at CIF finals, if you hit that at-large time, no matter where you are, you should just go to state. Because why, if the other sections are not running an extra week, why should we? When the most talent is there anyway, and most of the time they're going to run faster at CIF finals than they are at masters anyway, because it's just another week. Most of the time it's hot, and then we're running, just trying to get through. But 9 times out of 10, when you make it, if you're in the top, 9 and you make it to masters, most of the time you're going to get the state. But it's just, I don't feel that we should have to run that. They should just take everybody to state and let them hash it out there.
I agree with you. I have no complaints about that.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes. Even them adding the whole 4x8 this year, now you have to declare it out of league, not at masters, but out of league. If you're in the top 25, you declare that you want to run it. And then you have to run it at CIF prelim, CIF, masters, and state, where before it was masters and state.
That's a lot.
If your team is not in the top 25, you have to run it at league, whether it's during the prelims or the finals, to try to get into that top 25. But then again, you still have to run it every single week. I understand they're trying to give an advantage to the distance runners, but honestly, I feel you're doing a disservice, because kids that double in the 1600 and the 8, or the 1600 and 32, if they're also running a 4x8, their body's not going to be able to do that every week. When you put in the 4x8 at masters, by that time, usually they've dropped something. But really, you're not making it better for them. You're making it harder. But if you're going to put in the 4x8, let's go on and put in the 4x2.
Now, me and Lonnie have had that conversation, and I'm against putting the 4x2 just because what I see going on in Texas, right? So you're running you only get 4 events. So now you're running a 4x1, 4x2, and probably a 4x4, which most likely probably leaves you with one individual event. So that's why I'm like, I'm with that.
Yeah.
I like that 4x8 though. And living out here now in Texas, I'm watching that 4x2. I was a zone judge today for a middle school meet. I had to DQ 2 teams out the zone in the 4x2. I felt bad, but they love it out here. They love that 4x2. They love it.
Yeah. Yeah. And even with the 4x8, I feel that where it is in the lineup of the events, if you put it at the beginning before the 4x1, it doesn't mess with recovery for anything else. So yeah, have the 4x8, but put it at the first event as opposed to towards the end, because then you're messing with recovery for those that might run the 4x4 or run the 3200. There's not enough recovery for those kids. But
that's a great point, because I've thought about that often. Like, if you're on the 4x8, you're probably not running the 4x4. If you are, you're probably not running the great leg. Yeah.
Unless you're training in schools like Poly, schools like Long Beach Wilson have been able to run a 4x8. The first year it came out, Zai was able to do it and come right back. I think he was knocked out sleep for 45 minutes and then jumped up and ran that 4x4. And I think we won the 4x4 that year. But everybody can't do that. That takes you have to train your kids that way in order for their bodies to be able to run at that level. But every coach is not understanding of running at that level and how you just can't expect them to do it in the meet. You have to train them that way, and you have to put that type of volume on there so their bodies can handle it when they get in that situation. But I'm not making the decisions for CIF. I'm just rolling with it. And so whatever they put in front of me, I'm going to take the challenge, and we're just going to have our kids step up and just give their best. And, because that's what it's all about.
How many kids, this just came to my mind, how many kids on average does the boys and girls track team average? Like on all levels, 200? Okay.
Yeah.
It's a lot of buses.
Right. This year was a little bit less, though, for the first time, because I made a coaching change for distance track. I hired Coach Lamar Kirk to be my 8, 16, and 32 coach. And so for the first time, we had what's called an off-season cross-country team. Usually every kid from cross-country runs track, but this year they were given a choice. So instead of getting 80 runners, we got about 30, which is fine. We got the ones that wanted to be there. And so far, I've seen those kids do an amazing job. I've seen Coach Lamar, as well as his staff, with Coach Kevin Word, with Coach John, Coach Stewart, do a great job with those kids, because I've seen multiple PRs in the 32, the 16, and the 8. Kids who have never run the 8 before, that were running 210, 215, running 157 or 201. Yeah, it may not be 150, but just to see that drop, because the training is totally different. They're being pushed, they're being challenged. I just love what I see. And I told the kids just the other day, I said, now you see running at Arcadia, because we had a couple not come. And so other kids had to fill in their space. So the relays didn't go quite as planned, but I said, you got to be put in the fire to know why your coach is pushing you. You got to be put in the competition to understand why your coach wants you to push so hard at practice. He needs you to run some things at race pace, not all of a sudden think you're going to do it on the day of the meet. So the intensity of practice has gone up from the 3,200 on down, because as we know, Arcadia is the mid-season indicator that lets you know if you're good, if you need to work harder, or if you got to push quite a bit. So the intensity has gone up, and I love what I see.
I'm gonna say this out loud. I think I told Lonnie this. I believe Kirk has the ability, because she's only a ninth grader,
Yes.
to hit under that 2 minute in the 800.
By the time she leaves high school.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, that baby right there, she challenges our boys in practice every day. She makes them push when faster than they ever have before. Her dad has done a great job of just bringing the best out of all of the kids. And the thing about, like, which hopefully people understand, like when you go from age group track, when you're a young runner to now in high school, like females and males, they go through body changes.
Mm-hmm.
They put on more weight, they get taller, just their body change because it's supposed to. It's a natural occurrence. But I know that once everything balances out, that young lady is going to be hard to deal with, because every time she's pushing, every time she's doing a great job. And so we're very blessed to have her. She was on the anchor of our sprint medley relay that we ran in Texas, the 2248. That is number one in the nation. And also she was on the end of our 800 sprint medley that we ran at Arcadia. That's number one in the nation as well. Mm-hmm. So very blessed to have that young lady.
Awesome.
There's not too many kids, eighth graders, who have Nike billboards around the city before they enter high school. That's impressive.
Right. And she's just as humble and sweet as she can be. Very great attitude, very great athlete. So that humbleness that we pride ourselves on, and no matter what, whether it's good or bad, just making sure that you say your prayers, you give your blessings, and just thank God for whatever he gives you. She's right in with what we're doing and how we move as a school. So things are good.
Yeah, good.
That's awesome.
I appreciate you shouting out Coach Chucky as well. Yeah,
that's my boy. Absolutely. Coach Chucky will forever be on our staff and in our hearts. I have a big picture that I put on my desk of him, so I see him every day. There's one right here in my little shrine I have in my room as well. But I have a lot of respect for him. And last year when we were at CIF and our boys had to win the mile relay in order to win the meet. Mm-hmm. At the same time, right before they got on the track, we had got a call that, Coach Chucky had went into cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
And for 2 hours, we didn't know if he made it or not. And we just had to trust that he was going to be okay. And Coach Bass, as soon as the boy stepped off the track, he got in his car and he rushed to Long Beach. And he let us know that he did make it, and he held on another week. Well, I know that by that Monday, I was up at the, or that Sunday, I was up at the hospital myself, Coach Moore, and I took the CIF trophy just so he would know, like, we couldn't have done this without you. And you're part of the legacy that we have built. And just respect for him to respect me as a female head coach, to just be there to support me in my journey. Where my first year, year 17 for me coaching was my hardest year of coaching. I had coaches, some that quit. I had athletes that transferred out. People just like, oh, Polly will never win another championship now that she's the head coach. Just basically just talked a lot of crap, but I never let someone see me break. I never shed a tear. I never talked bad about anybody else's program. I just sold into mine. But I knew once I got to a certain point, and my coaches was like, we got you. You don't have to worry. The people who don't want to be here are not here, and the people that want to be here are. After that, it's been smooth sailing ever since.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, Coach Irving, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time today, and but also for your impact on the sport. I definitely, like I said earlier, looked up to the prestige of the program that you guys run and how you run your program, how you interact with your athletes. And I think that's one way that all head coaches and all coaches should just interact with their athletes. You should speak love and speak life into them. And I definitely see that from like social media. I've seen it in person, and I've seen you just stop and just speak life into these athletes, whether they done well at the meet or not, because they have another day, like you
They
mentioned
have
here today.
a
But
absolutely.
it goes beyond track. It's about leadership, consistency, and showing up for these kids. And you definitely have set the tone for it. So for everyone listening, take something from this and just carry it with you, because this is what the sport is really about. And this is Beyond the Blocks. So I'm Coach Lonnie D, and I'm signing out. But we just want to thank you, Coach Irving, and we'll catch you on the next one.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
All right.
So
Take
You be at Mount Sac, right?
Oh yeah, I'll be there with a sundress on. I'll be there.